Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, it's been an up and down season for the Lakers, but is the solution to their problem really as easy as JJ Redick makes it seem? Meanwhile, an Eastern Conference team has emerged as a serious suitor for Anthony Davis, and Giannis talks about his future in Milwaukee.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today, we're talking about the latest Lakers drama, Anthony Davis's trade market, and Giannis's future in Milwaukee, and we're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Between Wes's squeaky voice and his stubble this morning, Haize, I think our guy might be hitting puberty.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, he's also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report. It's Haize.
It's been the Chicago did not come out on top like it did the prior weekend, so I'm still rebounding from that. But it is what it is.
It was a wild game. That was a wild.
It was a great game. It was a great game.
How do you feel that if you win, you're going to have the Packers coming in for the wild card?
I love it. That's the pettiness that I love.
You want to slay the beast. That's the goal.
Yeah.
I would run and hide. That's the difference. I'd be like, no.
All right. Yes, my voice is gone here. It does sound like I'm going through puberty, but look, I'm looking forward to getting my driver's license soon and really exploring the neighborhood, guys. But let's talk about the Lakers to start off this Monday morning. JJ Redick got upset with his team after a Christmas Day loss to the Rockets and then called out his team's lack of effort after the game. Then, after a lengthy practice on Saturday, the Lakers came out and beat the Sacramento Kings on Sunday. Here's more from Locked On Lakers.
I thought they did certainly more good things in terms of just effort and attention and the willingness to put in the work against Sacramento, even if you want to say the work required is less than what you would have to do against Phoenix and Houston. That is true. But again, you can only play the team that is in front of you. But I did think they were out there hustling. I thought that they were putting in more than what was necessary. And this is what jumped out at me. We've seen this team at times, if they know 60% is enough to get them a win against a team with a roster like Sacramento, they will put in 60% and it damn well will not be 61. Like that's what we've seen from them a lot. And this was a game where I'm not going to pretend that they were playing 100 miles an hour, balls to the walls for 48 minutes because that's not necessary. But I thought that they were putting in a consistent at least 80-ish% of what you would want. And that's good. They controlled the game.
Effort is a big talking point right now around the Los Angeles Lakers. Matt, is it really that simple? Is it just a matter of effort for this Lakers team?
No, I think they've got a pretty weak bench. I don't think they have necessarily the pieces. I don't think that they're in a really great position to be able to problem solve night to night defensively. And like a lot of this is they're discovering the same thing the Mavericks discovered, which is like it's really hard to have a great defense with Luka. They did in 2024, but like it's just very difficult when you have a guy that is that much of a negative in terms of effort, energy, and impact. It's just very difficult to have a good defense. And you know, I've been railing on Nikola Jokic for his effort defensively in some of the games recently too, while he's having another incredible season as the best player in the world by margin. Had I think his best game of his regular season career on Christmas versus the Wolves. But like, it's just, if you want to look at what what's the problem with the Lakers? It's the defense. Who's the biggest problem on defense? It's, well, I don't know if Luke is the biggest problem for them, but he's not helping matters. I think they have genuine limitations, and they're kind of getting found out right now after a pretty soft start to the season schedule wise.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers are a good team, and I'll give them credit. They're better than what I expected them to. DeAndre Ayton has been better for them than I necessarily expected as well, but this is still a team that's incomplete, and they know they're incomplete. Like, they know that they still have a lot of work to do to get this roster where they needed to be, and Matt Point has a great point there. Like, defensively, your ceiling's capped around your team with Luka on your team defensively. It just is. Or you need a special set of circumstances and players around him to overcome that, and they don't have that right now. The depth on the bench is a little bit lacking as well, but I still think, they're ahead of their own kind of schedule. They wanted to do some things this offseason. Some of those moves are definitely working out. Austin Reaves has had a great season, especially when he's healthy, but this team, I don't think that they came into the season thinking that they had the final version of their roster yet. They know they still have work to do, and I think that's evident by their play.
They do have some. They're okay. They're 30th in opponent 3-point rate, or a 3-point percentage, and that's usually a luck metric. So that's probably going to come back down to earth, but they are 20th in rate. Like they allow you to take the 14th most shots at the rim and the 20th most shots from three. That's a bad recipe. Like, they're not taking away anything. That's really how you need to judge defense, is what are you choosing to take away, and are you actually taking that away? And with the Lakers, I don't necessarily see them doing that at all. Like, I don't see them taking away anything significantly. And like, one of the underrated parts of this is we may know that DeAndre Ayton just is who DeAndre Ayton is. Like, they are 4 points worse defensively with him on the court. He's not making the impact that he was brought in to have. And if you don't have a rim protector, and you've got Luka, Austin Reaves when he's healthy, and LeBron's defensive numbers are catastrophic, Wes. Like, they're not just like, oh, that's a little concerning. They are like, oh my God, bad with LeBron on the floor defensively. That's got to be a concern.
I don't even need the numbers to see that, right? You watch the Lakers games and you just see LeBron standing on the baseline pointing and telling people to cover up for him a lot of time. Look, they're 25th in defensive rating this year. You guys are exactly right to focus on the defense here. I want to go back to, though, the effort part, right? Because Redick railed against the team about effort. You've got the Kamenetsky brothers on the podcast talking about effort. Some players talk about defense like it's 100% effort, right? You have Kevin Durant talking about over the summer, like, bend your knees, right? I don't think that that's true. I think it's actually a disservice to some of the elite defenders. I think there's a lot of skill involved in playing defense. This is sort of one of my pet takes here. I do think that playing defense is a skill. And I don't think that the Lakers have any elite defenders. You can't effort your way into a good enough defense. A lot of people talk in LA about, well, it's the Nuggets model, right? Super elite offense and just be good enough defensively. Even those Nuggets teams that won in 2023, at least you had an elite defender like Aaron Gordon. You had Bruce Brown coming off the bench. You had KCP at the point of attack. Jamal Murray is an underrated defender at his position. You don't have a single elite, maybe not, elite might be too much to ask, very good defender on that Lakers team. I just don't see a way that you can effort your way into a good enough defense, Matt.
Well, I mean, you can. So here's the thing. I agree with you that the elite defenders have a high level of skill. I don't necessarily think you need it to be a good defense, because, and like Haize can talk about Billy Donovan and what the magic that he's pulled off in some of the other seasons with Vooch, right? Like, if you have guys that are all connected, defense in the NBA is systemic from where I'm at. Like, it's systemic. You got to have everybody. I think you're right that it's more than effort, but it's like, what I think gets confused is effort could be thought of as like a physical thing, making the choice to run out hard on a closeout. Okay, but if you do a flyby, that doesn't help you. Now it's 4-on-5. It's about understanding what your assignment is and making that rotation on time so that you're able to get out there, prevent an open three-pointer, and still cut off the drive. It's those kinds of assignments, depending on what your scheme is, that you have to be able to execute. And Haize, like, the JJ Redick stuff is getting not good, and it's still okay for right now because he's still in the honeymoon period because they were so over Darvin Ham. But I think you see after he talked about, like, we're going to make practice uncomfortable, and then DeAndre Ayton laughs that off to the media, I am getting a little concerned about the coaching situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. To get to Wes's point about defense, I do think that you can have a good enough defense with effort. I really do think that in the NBA. I think we've seen that. It doesn't mean that it's going to be elite, but if your offense is really good and your offense is elite, you can come up with a defense that's good enough just through everybody buying in, giving effort, those type of things. I don't know if the Lakers can turn it around that much, but the JJ Redick piece is very interesting, Matt, because we know that the Lakers have not always had patience with coaches. And while they have had some patience with JJ Redick, I say after next year is probably when you're going to start. If they aren't achieving what they want to achieve after the offseason that they're going to try to have this year, I think next season you may start hearing some of those rumblings around JJ Redick.
In other bad news for the Lakers, Austin Reaves is going to miss at least a month with a calf injury that forced him out of the Lakers' Christmas Day game. Reaves is averaging 26.6 points per game, 6.3 assists in what has been a breakout season for him. So things might not be getting easier for the Lakers anytime soon here. It's going to take a lot more effort, in other words, from everybody involved. Meanwhile, could former Lakers star Anthony Davis move the needle for a different team in this season's title race? We'll talk about that next. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Daily is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the game tips off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during happy hour always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off and make a move before the window closes. The timing is perfect, right before the games, right before the weekend starts. It adds extra energy to Friday night basketball without overthinking it. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. Every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern, a little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily. The best way to support the show is to subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. Let's get to some of the latest trade reporting. Mark Stein and Chris Haize reporting over the weekend that the Hawks and Warriors are interested in Anthony Davis. The Hawks in particular have emerged as a serious suitor, according to their reporting. Here's more on the Anthony Davis's trade market from a recent episode of Locked On Mavericks.
We'll go back to Anthony Davis. When you talk to people around the league, or is it more about the lack of market or the lack of desire for Anthony Davis around the league?
Yeah, I don't mean to certainly belittle the Mavs front office when I say that they're interim. They're interim. You know, that is a fact. Yeah. That is in their job title. And they're in a tricky situation, but I don't have any reason to believe that they aren't empowered to make moves that they think are best. When it comes to Anthony Davis, you know, Anthony Davis is like a used car, that depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot. And based off his age and injury history, that's kind of where he is right now. I think he's a little bit closer to a car whose check engine light just will not go off.
So they talked a lot about Anthony Davis's trade value there, Haize. I mean, how should we, before we talk about potential fits with the Hawks and the Warriors, which I do think is interesting and I want to get to, but before we get to any of that, what should Anthony Davis's trade value be right now, Haize?
I have no idea. This is something I've gone back and forth on, and I don't say that to cop out, but it's like Anthony Davis, when he's on the court, is worth a lot. Anthony Davis, the contract takes away from some of that. Anthony Davis, inability to play over 60 games consistently takes away from that. I don't know what the asking price should be for Anthony Davis because it offers such a possible return on investments or a possible loss on investments depending on what you're doing there. He's going to want a contract extension, so you have to factor that part into it as well. Like the Mavs should be looking for unprotected first. How many of those they can get? I don't think it's going to be very many of them because of his injury history and the size of that contract. So I think if the Mavs can walk away from this with a promising young player and an unprotected first, they're probably getting the best value they can out of Anthony Davis.
The name value is so much greater than the actual value. Like it just is. And this has been true for him for pretty much his entire career. That like the idea of Anthony Davis is way greater than the actuality of Anthony Davis because Hayes talks about the value when he does play. Does he make anybody better? No. Does he raise anybody up? No. Is he actually an elite defender like Bam Adebayo? Well, can you put him on guards? No. What is he good at? Can he guard the best center in the world? How does he do versus Jokic? No. What does he do? He's a weak side rim protector, a great rebounder, And when his jumper is falling, which it almost never is, he's a top-level scorer. If you are facing an undersized team, there is nobody better than Anthony Davis. He will dunk all over the little dudes and flex. And then other than that, he's not really all that impactful. Those Laker teams, think about this, that LeBron was playing until he was 30. He is still playing at 41. And last year at 40, LeBron was still the best player on that team. Davis never took that title from him, man. Think about that. And so when I say all this, is to say, well, okay, it's a big name player that you have to attach trade value because of their name, who actually isn't that good or impactful. Why don't we just do Trae Young for Anthony Davis and call this a day? Why don't we just do this and be done? The Hawks get a big to replace Kristaps Porzingis. The Mavericks hilariously get Trae Young after having Luka Doncic. They get a point guard to go with Cooper Flagg. Why don't we just do Trae Young for Anthony Davis and call it a day?
It's 165 million reasons why. His name is Kyrie Irving. Until they have clarity on what's going on with Kyrie Irving, I don't think you can trade for Trae Young.
They can play together.
Have you seen Trae Young play with another point guard that's ball dominant?
Have you seen the Mavericks? Have you seen the Mavericks? How much worse is it going to get?
With Trae Young, look at how much worse it got when Trae Young came back for the Hawks playing with Jalen Johnson. It can get a lot worse.
There's so much that I want to carve into there. Trae Young has also been mentioned as of Monday morning in terms of potential trade from the Hawks. But I mean, the Hawks of it all, right? Like you've got Chris Haynes talking about how the Hawks are seriously considering making a trade for Anthony Davis. To Matt's point, Kristaps Porzingis is out, right? Anthony Davis, by the way, also another groin injury right now that he's dealing with, also out. But the idea of Anthony Davis in Atlanta, Haize, is that moving the needle in the Eastern Conference?
If he was going to be healthy, yes. Yes, it would. Like, there is a potential that can move the needle, because what they like, adding a frontline defender like that Anthony Davis can, and his ability to switch and putting that out there with Dyson Daniels, who gets in the passing lanes, all that type of stuff. Yes, it could be. But I don't know if I'd be willing to bet $60 million that he's going to be healthy to give me that. Like, I'd much rather go after a different center that, maybe has less of a ceiling and less offensive capability, but I know is going to be out there on the court if I'm the Atlanta Hawks. Like, that's a concern that you run into it with. Like, it's the Eastern Conference. Anything can change make a shift in the Eastern Conference if it works out. There's just so many questions on if it will.
You're not beating the Knicks. You're not beating the Pistons. You're not beating the Celtics. You're not beating any of those three teams. You got Anthony Davis. It doesn't move the needle at all for the Hawks.
Maybe you could beat him in a series, to your point, Matt. But if he stays, is he going to stay healthy for 4 playoff series? Is a huge question.
Again,
obviously,
we do the health thing with him. Look at what the man's actually done. Like, he's gotten dog walked by Jokic like 3 times. Like, I know that's Jokic, but also.
He's gotten dog walked by one of the best 5 players in NBA history, man. I
get you. But also, what has he done?
It is also why I asked the question in the Eastern Conference, because Jokic ain't in the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah,
so there's a little bit of a difference.
Here's the thing, Matt.
We've seen players less than Anthony Davis alter the Eastern Conference. Like, we've seen a Jimmy Butler who's got no slight to Wes, that's gotten hot at the right time, that completely threw the Eastern Conference playoffs for a loop. So I don't think it's outside the realm. Yeah, on paper, okay, you say they're not going to get past the Pistons, they're not going to get past the Knicks, but we've seen it in the Eastern Conference. It's taken less than what Anthony Davis has provided over his career when healthy to shift the Eastern Conference.
I want to talk about Trae Young really quick too, because Matt, you brought up a Trae Young for Anthony Davis swap, and I think that's extremely interesting, right? For a lot of different reasons. But you've got Tim McMahon pointing out this morning that it seems like the Hawks are looking to move on from Trae Young sooner rather than later. I asked you the question about Anthony Davis's trade value. What's Trae Young's trade value at this stage?
It's not great. It's just not great, man. Like, and I think it's a shame, because I think Trae's such a willing passer, and he is a genuinely terrific passer. I don't know how you build an offense without, it would take Trae coming to a new team and being like, hey, I'm willing to play however you need me to play. And Trae maybe saying that in Atlanta, and it's just not working. I don't want to say that it's not. it just certainly seems like when Trae Young's on the floor, you're in the Trae Young business. You have to be in the Trae Young business, and everything is playing the Trae Young way. And I just don't know that that's like the best approach, because it goes back to the isocentric stuff, which not a lot of teams are running anymore. You have to be a Luka Doncic level player to do that. And Trae's not. He's not enough of a shooter. He's not enough of a scorer. He's not big enough. He doesn't grift enough. Like, Trae would be, I think, great if he can get his 3-point percentage up. He would be great as a supplemental secondary creator. I've been thinking a lot about this because Donovan Mitchell's like a way better player, right? But I am kind of at the point of just like, does Donovan Mitchell need to be a Ray Allen? Does Donovan Mitchell need to be a Paul Pierce? Like, does he need to be next to somebody else? And I am with the point of Trae Young being like, Trae may not be even a B. He might be a C guy on a championship team.
Yeah, I mean, the Hawks have had a better record with Trae Young off the court than on the court for the last 3 years. Now that Jalen Johnson has ascended to where he's ascended to, this year they've played 189 minutes together. They have a net rating of negative 12.6. Their offensive rating takes a dip by almost 5 points when he's on the court, and the defensive rating is a 132 with Trae Young and Jalen Johnson on the court together. That's in the 9 games they played together. It's just I don't know if Trae can play with other good players. I just don't know if you do have to play Trae Young ball when Trae Young's on the court. And we've seen the Hawks try to do this your turn, my turn thing with him and Jalen Johnson, and it has not working out every time. And to the Atlanta's credit, between the DeJounte Murray trade, developing Jalen Johnson, like, they keep trying to throw different things to try to figure this out. And I just think we have to accept the thing. I don't know if Trae Young's a winning basketball player. I don't know if he's ever going to be a winning basketball player. The way that you have to play with other good players, I don't know if Trae Young can do that.
And exactly to Haize's point about Anthony Davis and that contract, the same thing is with Trae Young, right? Who's going to be due a contract extension this summer. And so that is going to be, I think, a really fascinating sort of test case here about what players like these guys are going to demand on the open market, as my voice squeaks for the 3rd time in this episode, in this new CBA kind of world. So really interesting stuff in terms of the trade value with Anthony Davis and Trae Young. Meanwhile, Giannis made headlines with his end-of-game dunk against Haize's Chicago Bulls, and his post-game comments about his future in Milwaukee. Weekend winners and losers is next. Thanks for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Hawks, Locked On Mavericks, and Locked On Lakers for more on today's top stories. It's Monday, so it's time to end the show with weekend winners and losers. Haize, why don't you kick us off?
So I got a couple of losers here. The whole Giannis dunk situation, right? There's a lot of losers. One would think that I'd automatically come in here and call Giannis a loser. I'm not going to do that. The Bulls are a loser for allowing that to happen on your home court. There were no less than 3 Chicago Bulls that noticed what Giannis was about to do. They just looked at it and then wanted to get fired up afterwards. No, you go out there and you give him a hard foul at the end of the game to say, what are you doing? Now, as far as Giannis's thoughts on it, I'm not even going to condemn him for doing the dunk. It is what it is. Nobody stops you. The comments after the game were stupid to me. To say that, oh, well, we needed something. Half these players could be gone if we don't turn this thing around. A dunk at the end of the game in the final seconds of a game that you were handedly going to win at that point doesn't do that. If that's what you need to fire up your team, it's all but just say you're ready to go. Just say you're ready to go. Everybody's a loser in that situation. The Bulls are a loser. Giannis is a loser, and the Milwaukee franchise is about to be a loser because he's about to get up out of there. So everybody's a loser in that case.
I get it. I get it from his perspective of just like trying to light a fire. You know, you're trying to get like at least guys to kind of snap out of just going through the motions, and setting the tone. I kind of get it. I understand why it doesn't necessarily carry through. I get that, but I on my end, I kind of understand and get why. Wes,
do you buy it?
What?
Do you buy it that he was actually trying to light a fire on his team, or that he was in post game making up a reason after the fact?
No,
maybe he just sort of felt like dunking it. No,
he's a psychopath. That guy is a psychopath competitively. I think he genuinely wants to win as long as he's there. I just think that he's his biggest problem is that he doesn't want to be the villain. That's his biggest problem.
So that's where I want to go next, because the post-game comments that Haize was talking about him trying to light a fire under the team, and half the team might not be here if we don't correct things. He was also asked, it was his first game back since the injury, right? So he was asked, okay, well, there's been a lot of rumors, etc. He said, quote, They didn't want to answer those questions and quote, I'm here, I'm putting on the jersey, and as long as I'm here, I'm going to give everything I have, even in the last second of the game, end quote. So Matt, when you hear that, I mean, it's clearly not enough, right? I was going to ask you, but it feels clearly not enough to move on from the obvious rumors.
Look, and like all superstars, he wants his cake and to eat it too. I want to explore trade opportunities. I want to look at the possibility of moving on. I want to eventually be traded, and I don't want to be hated for it, and I want no one to be asked about it while I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get both. You don't get it. If you're like, you either tell your agent, shut it down. Bucks are telling everybody they're not trading him. Bucks are like holding the line. Everybody's reporting right now, and like I've heard the same, that the Bucks have told everybody, nope, we're good. Nope. If you want to talk about trades, we'll talk about upgrades. That's it.
Do you have a weekend winner or loser?
The winner, I think, is anybody who doesn't want changes to the tanking rules, like Wes Goldberg, because you get wins from the Jazz, the Nets, and the Wizards. The Nets are playing really good basketball right now. They have moved over the last 2 months. Last month, they are the number one defense in basketball defense. They have not Jordy-proofed that roster enough, to borrow a phrase from Zach Lowe. The Wizards, quietly, starting to play a little bit better. It's like they tanked enough that now that they could be like, oh, we should actually start trying now. And the Jazz continue to have these one-off games where they sneak in a win here and there and then look terrible otherwise. But just generally, I like to see these teams kind of showing some life. I do think a lot of these teams purposefully put themselves underwater to start with, which sucks because your fans are like, they give up on the season. But now is kind of the nice part, because now from now until the end of the season, you can start trying a little bit more and more to win and still keep your draft pick. And so I think that's pretty good. So those are my winners, is I guess Jazz, Wizards, and the Nets.
Haize, do you have any winners?
My kids, because of the Christmas gifts they got, they're the winners from the past weekend, because I spent like $3,000 on Christmas gifts this year. So there you go. They were winners.
How many Xboxes did you get?
I mean, no, we don't. First of all, we don't support that in this household. We're not an Xbox household family. But we got a lot of VR systems, some Meta Ray-Ban glasses in here. You know, those type of things are going on.
My oldest was disappointed to not find a Switch 2 under the tree, and of course, I felt guilty about it. So, but to help him understand, I just plopped down an economics book in front of him and then walked off.
You should just handed him a Switch. You know, you can literally take Switch 2 games and put them in a Switch 1 and they work.
You're kidding me.
I'm dead serious.
I'm mad now. One more loser, Wes, is the Golden State Warriors. This is getting perilous. That loss of the Raptors felt like it might have been a little bit of a breaking point.
Mm-hmm. That might demand a larger conversation at some point this week. I do want to end it on a winner, though. Nikola Jokic's MVP odds. Now the favorite to win MVP after a 56-16-15 Christmas Day game win over the Timberwolves. Nat, you mentioned it might be his best regular season performance of his career. It's hard to debate it. I mean, he was just 18 points in 2 minutes in overtime to seal the win on that one. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I have no words for covering Jokic anymore. It's impossible for me to I want to be in but the defense, and it's like, man, this guy's unbelievable. He's absolutely insane. This is one of the all-time greatest players you're ever going to see. Find me anybody who does what he does on a night-to-night basis, and he has 4 of the best basketball games I've ever seen in the regular season in the last calendar year. It's been an insane 2025 for Jokic.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.